UPod Street is an official affiliate of Birdland Sports. Visit birdlandsports.com/UPodStreet, and 10% of your order will go directly to supporting the pod. Use code UPodStreet at checkout, and you'll get 10% taken off your order. Now sit back, relax, and keep that beer cold, because it's on to UPod Street. Welcome to UPod Street. As always, I'm Jimmy Horn, and I am joined by our co-host, Jack Bain. Jack, first things first, you're styling today, man.
Hey, man, what can I say? I got my fresh new shirt using code UPod Street for 10% off my order at Birdland Sports.
birdlandsports.com/UPod Street.
Hey, it's really easy for you. I know that some people in the northern part of the United States are having a lot of trouble using their code, but I think y'all will be able to do it next time.
I believe in you. Jack believes in you, and that's impressive. So keep that in mind. Hey, Jack, we went to a baseball game this week.
Yeah, I mean, if that isn't the highlight of your week, I don't know what is.
Yeah, so Orioles opening day, originally planned to be on Thursday, got pushed back due to potential for severe thunderstorms. And you know what, Jack? I'm really happy that they moved it back so that we could have a sunny 80-degree day with rain that didn't hit till 7 p.m. Could have been almost disastrous opening day with sunny and 80-degree weather. And instead, we got a beautiful, cloudy, drizzly 54-degree day for opening day.
And on the same day as the Bruce Springsteen concert.
And on the same day as a Bruce Springsteen concert. I don't know. I mean, I'm split on their decision to postpone opening day. On one hand, it meant that Ashley couldn't go. On the other hand, it meant that my mom could go. On one hand, it meant we didn't get nice weather. On the other hand, I feel like just like our luck, if the Orioles hadn't postponed it, their expected weather would have actually hit. And then we would have had like all these people showing up in the delay. Like it was just like perfect storm, pun intended, of just like, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked it being on Friday, but whatever.
I'm sure for some people it worked out for like a long weekend. I do feel like it hurt the attendance a little bit. They announced a sellout. I don't know about you, but when I looked around that stadium, I saw a lot of scattered around empty seats throughout the stadium.
Well, I mean, some people couldn't go, I'm sure. So, I mean, the ticket was still bought, so they're still going to call it a sellout. I think the number was 45,000 around there, which is great. And there wasn't a game.
45,017, I think, was the exact total, and that's 1,000 less than what it used to be because the left field wall moved back.
Right. I don't know. I thought that having it on Friday made it more seamless for people still, like just to go right into the weekend for people whose weekends are on Saturday and Sunday. I don't know. I was fine with it on Friday. I thought the atmosphere was still good, even though it was a little dreary. All in all, I give my experience. Actually, no, dude. So the new vendor, right? Levy Restaurants or whatever.
Yeah.
I think they're still working out some of the logistics behind, that big of a crowd. There was a couple times where me and some of the folks that I was with got warm beers out of the cooler.
Ooh, I actually, you know what? I did get a warm beer. Yeah. I think opening day is always a crapshoot with the vendors because the Orioles are never going to hire more people just to have for one day out of the year, knowing that they're going to have less people throughout the rest of the year. And that's kind of the thing too. Is I feel like the one design flaw of Camden Yards is, even though it's really great that like on the concourse you can look out onto the city, it'd be nice to have vendors and bathrooms on either side of you on the concourse. And you have some, but I would like more on either side, because then it would alleviate the lines and stuff like that. Because on one hand, I really love that opening day is a sellout. I love to see the crowds returning to Baltimore, but then I don't like having to wait 10 minutes to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, and I can't really speak for the upper deck because I am very much a lower deck elitist. But on the lower deck, I mean, it was crowded. I wouldn't say the bathroom lines were that bad.
Although
But
there were a couple times I went up to the bathroom and I was like, "Is this really the line to the bathroom?" I saw it going, wrapping around the stadium almost, and I was like, "I'm gonna go find another bathroom."
yeah, I don't know. I give it a solid 9 out of 10 for opening day. That was
No,
the
it was.
first
I
opening day
mean,
that I've been to in 5 years. So
oh yeah. Well, I mean, hey, I say this stuff at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I had a great time still.
it's a good time.
I went to opening day last year, which was great. I went to opening day the year before, which was weird because we were doing pod seating and all that stuff coming out of COVID and whatnot. Um, Before that, hadn't really been to opening day since I was a kid. So, overall, I had a fun time. I'm going to complain, uh, just because, we're never perfect. We're not
It's
we're
always
not
something
the
to
Tampa
complain
Bay
about.
Rays, right?
Yeah,
So,
seriously.
speaking of that, Jack, how about you take us into news from around the league this week?
Yeah, so the Tampa Bay Rays, as you said, they're kind of the biggest story around the AL East and the league right now. They've moved to 9-0 today. Their run differential is at plus 57. They're outscoring teams, outpitching teams. Granted, they've played Oakland and whoever else, but they are 9-0, top the AL East right now. The Blue Jays just finished up a series with the LA Angels. They won 12-11 today in a really big game where Shohei Ohtani was up with the bases loaded, 2 outs, and couldn't get it done. Um, really, I watched the whole bat. It was good stuff, but the Blue Jays did come away with that one. The LA Angels, however, are on top of the AL West right now at 5-4. Texas, Houston, Seattle all having kind of slower starts. Rafael Devers had a big series for Boston against the Detroit Tigers this past weekend. Had a multi-home run game in one of the games in that series. Boston is 5-4 and currently fourth in the AL East. The Twins are having a hot start. They have all the pieces there. It's just a matter of getting it done. They are 6-3. They just won their series. Pittsburgh Pirates. Who would have thought that they'd be second in the NL Central right now with a record of 6-3?
And they got in a
Unfortunately.
fight today.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
O'Neill Cruz and someone from the White Sox. There was some sort of collision. O'Neill Cruz injured,
Yeah, he
and
fractured his
benches
wrist
cleared.
or fractured his ankle. Excuse me.
Yeah. So benches cleared on that play. I haven't watched the highlight yet. I just saw the news pop up on my MLB app today. So yeah, apparently he's hurt, and whatever play caused it, benches cleared between them and the White Sox.
Wow. Something I forgot to mention on the Red Sox, Adam Duvall is getting X-rays on his right wrist, his throwing wrist. Um, Made a diving play in the outfield today and is getting checked up on that. Orioles killer Adam Duvall.
Yeah. Well-known Orioles killer Adam
Yeah.
Duvall.
Christian Walker of the St. Louis Cardinals started his big league career with a 9-game hitting streak. Unfortunately for him, the Cardinals are 3-6 and in the basement of the NL Central currently. Arenado also hit his 300th career home run for the Cardinals yesterday. The Arizona Diamondbacks having a real hot start at the top of the NL West at 6-4. Just took a really big series against the Dodgers, winning the last two of that weekend series. Really like the Diamondbacks, man. Really,
Hey
really like
man,
the Diamondbacks.
snakes are on the rise, man.
Yeah. Phillies having a real slow start. They are fourth in the NL East currently with a record of 3-6. All of their big names are still in the IL, and it's really showing in the early going for the Phillies. And then a
Still on the
bright,
IL and will be for some time.
yeah, and then a bright spot for the New York Mets. Kodai Senga is in fact that guy.
I just saw uh, someone took a DeGrom jersey and turned it. They like blacked out the part of DeGrom's name and just had the DE, and so it said Desanga, and then they drew a ghost with a fork on it.
Yeah, there you go.
And so it was an interesting homemade homemade jersey or whatever.
I like it.
But we have a lot of news to get to for the Orioles this week. We're only a week and a half into the season, and there has been a lot of stuff happening for the Orioles. It was an exciting week for the Orioles in both good ways and bad ways. One thing that started off really well for the week was that series in Texas where I don't know about you, Jack, but going into the series, I did not feel confident having seen how both the Orioles struggled against the Red Sox and how the Rangers did not struggle against the Phillies.
Right.
But
that Red Sox series just felt flat. Like from start to finish, it just did not feel good. Even though we won that first game, it just felt flat. But everything was pretty much firing in Arlington for that series. I mean, games 1 and 2, what else could you ask for? And then game 3, whenever you face Jacob deGrom, it's going to be a grind. So I'm not even mad at that loss. I mean, I thought the Orioles did pretty well against one of the best pitchers in the last decade. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about winning series. The Orioles did take 2 of 3. They took game 1 and game 2, dropped game 3. Game 1 was wild. Game 1, I sat there. I was like, we're back. Because you have a game where Kyle Bradish, who was dealing, by the way. I mean, granted, he was only, not even 2 innings into the game. No. But he just looked good. He just looked
his slider
really dominant.
His slider got on Pitching Ninja again.
And he takes a line drive off his was it his plant foot?
Yeah.
And he went. I was really nervous when I saw him go back out there to pitch, and he threw one pitch and was like, nope, can't do it. Luckily, just a contusion, not a fracture. X-rays were negative. And then you kind of sat there like, oh, geez, this Orioles bullpen that has been overtaxed in Boston. What are they going to do? And Tyler Wells has that dog in him and just volunteers as tribute, says, hey, I can do this. Goes out there with no prep, nothing, and does 5 hitless innings. And the Orioles as a whole hit the Rangers and go on to win 2-0.
Yeah.
I mean, what a wild night for the pitching staff that got a lot of heat after that Red Sox series.
Yeah, I mean, you look at just kind of like the guys that were in the bullpen who were ready to go. Tyler Wells was slated to start the next game. So, I mean, he just came out and just shoved. It's kind of the bottom line there.
And then
5 hits.
Game 2, you sit there, kind of reeling, wondering, okay, what's going to happen here? They decide to bring Kyle Gibson on normal rest. They were hoping to have that extra day for him because you have that rest day after opening day. So you bring Kyle Gibson in, and Kyle Gibson, 7 innings pitched, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, and 5 strikeouts. I mean, I don't know from a guy like Kyle Gibson if you can ask for a better line.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, I was pretty surprised by the start. I wasn't able to watch the whole game. But when I turned, I mean, come on. Right?
Well, this is doing
comes back against the Rangers.
This is doing what we wanted him to do, right? This is improved Jordan Lyles, because Jordan Lyles would throw out a lot of 7 inning pitched games, but he always seemed to give up like 3 runs before like the first inning was done. So he'd get really off to a really bad start, and then he would settle in. He would eat up a lot of innings, and then you would hope the offense could make up for it. Kyle Gibson just ate up 7 innings, and he only gave up 2 runs on like 2 solo shots, I think it was. And meanwhile, the offense took care of the rest. The Orioles scored 7 runs and won. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Yeah, I mean Mountcastle with a big day. Obviously, he had the home run off the foul pole. Pretty early on in the game, he was 2 for 5 with 3 batted in. And then Jorge Mateo also had a quietly big series with 2 bombs in the series, and he drove in 2 in that game as well. The
One of
Rangers
those bombs was
started Andrew Heaney.
one of those bombs was
No,
438 feet, by the way, which I think was like 5th overall for like farthest home runs this year or something.
yeah, I mean, you don't really need to steal his bags when you just hit it over everybody.
Then also while we're watching that game, everyone's phones start lighting up because we're wondering with Bradish down, Wells just pitched. You're bringing in, you're starting your rotation over. Who's going to pitch that next day? And I don't know about you, Jack, but I thought for sure I was like, okay, we're about to get like a Spencer Watkins start or something like
Right.
that. Or like Austin Voth was about to come out and they were going to do like a bullpen game or something like that. But to our great surprise, who do they decide to bring up and start a game other than the guy that you and I were ranting about last week,
Mm-hmm.
Grayson Rodriguez?
Yeah, and it was cool that he got to start it in his hometown or home state rather of Texas. He got to have all his family there. It's that moment from The Rookie, the movie The Rookie, where he gets to start in Texas. So that was kind of like that, except Grayson Rodriguez is not almost 40. But
Quite the opposite.
yeah, quite the contrary. But he had a pretty serviceable start. He went 5 innings, scattered 4 hits, 2 runs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. And all his runs came in the first inning. So it makes you think like some jitters were going on and then each had to settle in, which, very understandable. Your first big league start. I mean, this is what we were talking about before the season. Like he's going to give you a good serviceable start and is going to get better as he racks up more innings. So when we throw guys out there like a Dean Kramer who hasn't been able to really provide much success, same thing with Cole Irvin so far. Granted, is the first full week of the season just finished up. You look at Grayson's line and it's like, wow, we should have given him more starts within the first week. It took us a full week to find out that he's about it pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, he like you said, he gave up both his runs in the first inning. He even said after the game something along the lines of like, yeah, that first inning, like I couldn't even feel the ball as I was holding it. Like he was, there's a lot of stuff going on there, but he settled in great. It brings up a conversation that we'll have a little later of like, okay, so he's here because of an injury. What do you do next? Because I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think you can have him
No,
go
you can't.
anywhere. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
So Bradish is on the 15-day IL. Excuse me, I'm dating myself there. He's on there due to logistics because if we didn't put him on the 15-day IL within a certain amount of time, we would have had to send him down, right? I think that was the...
There's something weird with that. Like it was like one of those like you have to make a decision or he's got to go on assignment or something.
Yeah,
It
you
was
have to
something
move
weird,
somebody. Yeah,
and
so
and so they had to bring someone up to replace
yeah,
him.
yeah. So that means, and I would hope, and we're going to get into this later with what the roster looks like right now. You would assume that Grayson will stay and it'll move one of our 3 catchers off of the roster currently. So
We'll certainly see. The rest of that game though, a bit of a struggle. I mean, for the offense, like we said, when you're going against Jacob deGrom, like what can you
Yeah.
expect? You got 2 runs, good for you.
Yeah, I think DeGrom had 12 strikeouts.
Oh, that's filthy.
Something stupid.
Austin Voth, who came in relief, um, 1 inning pitch, gave up 4 hits and 3 earned runs. Looked awful.
Imagine him starting that game.
Yeah, imagine. Um, so Austin Voth not having it right now. Not after that great season he had with the Orioles last year. Orioles lost 5-2, but did take 2 out of 3 from the Rangers, to then come home after a delayed opening day. And despite mine and Jack's experiences opening day, it was just a good game. Really back and forth struggle. Kremer, uh, it seems like he's still warming up to the season. 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. Not looking like the dominant stuff that he had last year from time to time.
I wonder if
Still
he's still
kind
getting
of.
used to the pitch clock.
I think so. I think he's definitely getting used to the pitch clock. The Orioles had an early 4-0 lead that they then gave up to go down 5-4 in the 6th inning, just to come back and tie it in the 6th and then take the lead in the 7th, where they would end up winning 7-6. Also, how about Felix Bautista in that? He looked nasty. I mean, I was watching his stuff from the first base line, and I was just like, oh yeah, this is the Felix Bautista that I remember. Got his 3rd save of the season. I was riding high. You were riding high. All of Birdland was riding high. And then we got to Saturday.
Yeah, I think just the steam ran out on the pitching staff. Like the Yankees, high powered, highly volatile lineup just kind of took over. I thought that we kept Judge quiet up until today for the first 2
Yeah.
games of this series, which is fine. But like you got guys like Stanton and Rizzo, and like if Judge isn't going to do it, they're going to do it.
The thing is, I noticed I didn't get a chance to watch today because I was working, but the first 2 games, Judge just got pitched around a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he struck out a good bit because if they could get him swinging at stuff, they got him swinging at stuff. But I think he walked several times too, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I
I'd
am
rather have him on
perfectly
first
okay with
base
that.
than running around all of the bases.
If you got first base open, by all means, the guy who hit 62 home runs last year should take first base.
Yeah.
And so Cole Irvin looked less than stellar. 4 2/3 innings pitched, gave up 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks. That's the big stat that jumps out to me, and 5 strikeouts.
Yeah, the walks, man, they'll kill you, especially against a team like the Yankees. It's one thing to walk Aaron Judge and pitch around Aaron Judge, but when you're walking guys at the bottom of the order, it's just not going to work.
I mean, we texted each other last night, and I told you I saw them show that stat that was something like he only got a first pitch strike on 3 of 13 batters, like to start off the game. You got to throw strikes.
Yeah.
I don't think he got helped out. The umpire in this series was not calling the low strike. And Cole Irvin's put away pitch is a low changeup. So every time he threw that put away pitch, it wasn't getting called, even though you saw on the pitch trackers like it was hitting the zone every single time, and it's just not getting called. So I do think the line doesn't show as good as it should have been for Cole Irvin. I think he should have gotten a lot more strikeouts, and he had a lot of low strikes that were not getting called. But then there were things where, he had this outside breaking ball that he kept throwing. It kept being like a foot outside of the plate, and no one was swinging at it.
Yeah.
And he kept going back to it. And I'm like, why do we keep going back to this pitch? Clearly, it's not fooling anyone. Clearly, it's not going to be a strike. Why do we keep doing this?
Yeah, hopefully that it seems that a lot of these young guys are just having trouble finding the zone in the first couple innings of the game. And granted, Irvin did get into the fourth, or the fifth, excuse me. But it just like I said last week, there's just not a lot of like competitive pitches being thrown by these younger guys. I mean, Gibson proved me wrong, for my comments last week, and he had a great start because he was in the zone. He didn't walk anybody. When you're in the zone, like good things are gonna happen.
Well, and my thing is like on the all in all, when you look at the game, it's a low scoring game. The Orioles offense should have been better in this game too.
Yeah.
Because Cole Irvin only gave up 3 runs. Now that being said, he gave up 3 runs in 4 2/3 inning. I would rather he pull a Kyle Gibson or a Jordan Lyles from last year, give up 3 runs, but do it over 7 innings. If you're going to give up 3 runs and still just like keep us within 3 runs, I'm fine with that if you're also saving our bullpen. If you're going to give up 3 runs, extend your outing. I can't have you giving up 3 runs and not even making it to the 6th inning.
Yeah, and you're definitely not going to win a baseball game with 1 run on 4 hits. And we faced a really young arm in Johnny Brito, who went 5, but his pitch count was way up there. He walked a lot of guys in those first 5 innings. We just left a lot of guys on base in that second game. And once it gets like really any team these days, except for like the basement teams, once the game gets handed over to the bullpen, you can consider it as good as done. Because there's all these guys in the bullpen, especially on a team like the Yankees, who are going to come out and chuck 100 by you. Like, there's no way that you can only score 1 run against a starter who's young, who's inexperienced, and expect to win a game.
And like you said, giving you chances, putting guys on base.
Right.
All right. He just gave you, 2 free passes on the base bags. Yeah, just bring him home.
Right.
Hit a ball out to the outfield. Like, doesn't even have to be a hit necessarily. Just get him to advance. I was very frustrated watching that game. That the Orioles offense really struggled both in that game and today's game. Where, like you said, first of all, Aaron Judge, who he kept quiet the first 2 games, not quiet today, 2 home runs. And then my guy. Who did I say, Jack? Who did I say 2 weeks ago? Who did I say if I'm Brandon Hyde or if I'm Mike Elias, I am bringing out of spring training?
Yep, the Franchi Cordero Revenge Tour was in full force this weekend.
Franchi Cordero, who I sat there and I said he plays both outfield and first base. He had a monster spring where he was hitting over 400 for batting average. He had like a 1400 OPS. He had like 5 home runs in spring training, something ridiculous like that. And I said, if I am Mike Elias, this guy makes my opening day roster. Ryan McKenna goes to AAA. He can play outfield just like Ryan McKenna can, and he can back up Ryan Mountcastle at first base. And as soon as he gets dropped by the Orioles, he got picked up by the Yankees, and I knew it. I called it. I said, this is about to just rock the Orioles in the worst way possible. And he plays 2 games against the Orioles, opening day and then today. In both games, he has home runs, 5 RBIs off 2 home runs. I'm dumbfounded that the Yankees now have the Franchi Cordero Revenge Tour against the Orioles and the Nestor Cortez Revenge Tour against the Orioles just all the time.
We'll see what Franchi Cordero's up to in June, July, and then maybe I will validate this.
He's certainly very hot now when it matters for the Orioles. Okay.
Now, Nestor looked really good, though, today.
He always does. I mean,
we broke the scoreless inning streak that he had against us.
Well, at least there's that. At least there's that, I guess.
Just snapped a 20-plus inning scoreless inning streak for Nestor against the Orioles with 2 runs in the 5th or the 6th inning.
I think it might have been the 6th inning.
Yeah.
Tyler Wells did go 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, though. Overall, kind of an average outing, I guess. Again, if you're going to give up 4 runs, at least you made it, through 6 innings. You saved the bullpen a little bit. The Orioles offense, though, that to me is the story here. I put it in our notes. They got 3 runs on 6 hits. 4 of those hits came from Adley. who had a 4-for-4 day with a home run. So only 2 other guys got hits.
Yeah, those Adley Rutschman preseason MVP bets are looking pretty good right now.
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah, I'm ready for that to get cashed in a couple months.
Yeah, I mean he's the entire offense right now. It's not even
And as
close.
good as Adley is, he can't be the entire offense if
Yeah,
you
and I
expect to
mean,
win games.
and he's hitting the ball over the fence too. So like what you need to do to be an entire offense, like what Judge did for the Yankees last year, is hit a bunch of home runs. And I mean he's doing that. He's got 3 already, but it's just nobody's on base for him.
Right.
So
Do
something's
you
got
do
to
you
change.
do you change his spot in the lineup? Because part of it was they were putting him on second in the lineup because he was comfortable there. He was hitting the ball very well last year because he had so many doubles last year. So you put him on second, then a cleanup guy can come and hit him home. Do you move him closer to the cleanup?
No,
I
let
don't
him
know.
stay comfortable, man. Because I mean, he is hitting more home runs and extra base hits, but a bulk of his hits are also just singles.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And Santander is having a real slow start. Did get a
He
home run
put
finally.
he put all his effort into that World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, he's just slow. Mountcastle had a bad series against the Yankees. I don't expect him to continue that. It's just up and down the lineup we're not hitting. That's your major league team. You got to hit all the way up and down 1 through 9. Yeah,
Mountcastle also isn't going to hit well at home. He's
no.
the one hurting the most from that left field wall.
I mean, Judge to get one out had to put it off the batter's eye, or he had to put it in center.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, this offense has to be better because the thing is, all of April, like we talked about, the pitching is in trouble. And so that brings us to the next part of our show on our notes. When we look at this pitching, so we have Grayson Rodriguez make his debut. You and I are on the same page. You can't send him back down now. This can't be a DL Hall situation where it's like, well, send him back, get some work, bring him back up, put him in the bullpen. All right, next season, put him back in AAA. Like, it can't be that.
He doesn't need any more work.
He can't learn any more from AAA. So he's here. He's here. He's glorious.
And in theory, he's here to stay.
Yeah, like so. With that, what do we do from here? Because you have a banged up bullpen. Michael Givens is still out. Dylan Tate is still out. Those are 2 of your best guys in your bullpen. And then you have an overcrowded starting rotation whenever Bradish comes back. Now in another 7 days or 8 days, whatever it is that's left on his IL stint. Kyle Bradish, like I said, looked filthy.
Yeah, he
Looked
looks
good.
really good.
I have him as like a sleeper pick to be possibly the best pitcher on the Orioles rotation this year.
Yeah.
I think he this could be a very much a breakout season for him this year. So he's not going to go anywhere. You brought Kyle Gibson in to do exactly what he did last Tuesday, which was pitch 7 innings and only give up 2 earned runs.
He's not going anywhere.
And he's supposed to be the workhorse this year, so he's not going anywhere. You traded for Cole Irvin. Theoretically, he's not going anywhere. So that comes down to the same guy that beat Grayson Rodriguez out for a rotation spot at the beginning of the year comes down to Tyler Wells, right?
Yeah.
Because Dean
good.
Kremer's not going anywhere. Maybe he is. I don't know.
But I mean, like Wells looks so good out of the bullpen. Keep him there.
Well, that's what I wondered. Because on one hand, yeah, he came out and he pitched 5 no-hit innings. That's the stuff of a starter, theoretically. But he also did that with no preparation. So to me, I look at that and go, well, that right there answers your question. He would make for a really good long reliever.
Yeah, it's just like don't give him time to think about when he has to pitch. Because he obviously does much better. I mean, he pitched 5 no-hit innings. Like,
Yeah,
let him
I
stay
mean,
there.
it's kind of. I was thinking about this. It's kind of like what's called a manager's compliment, right? Where when you're working and you do something that might not be what you want to do, but you do it really well, your manager, your supervisor comes to you and says, "Hey, you did this thing really well. And even though you don't like doing this thing, because you did it really well, I want you to keep doing this thing." That's how Tyler Wells is with the bullpen. He wants to be a starter, but he just pitched out of the bullpen really, really well. So if I'm the manager, I'm saying, go do the thing that you did really, really well, even though it might not be what you want to do. It's a
Yeah,
simple answer for me. It shores up your bullpen where you have guys like Logan Gillespie in there. Austin Voth is not getting it done right now. Keegan Aiken, I trust as far as I can throw him. And you're trying to stretch guys out like CNL Perez. Like on opening day, CNL Perez had a 5-pitch inning when he came in relief. He was great. He was phenomenal. But as soon as they brought him back out for a second inning, I said, that's not good. CNL
right.
Perez is a 1-inning guy. I don't care that his pitch count was so low in that first inning. He is a 1-inning guy. And theoretically, it would go CNL Perez, Dylan Tate, Felix Bautista, or CNL Perez, Michael Givens, Felix Bautista, or even CNL Perez, Michael Givens, Dylan Tate, Felix Bautista. But
Right.
you don't have that option right now. So give the 5 innings or give the like 3-inning outings to Tyler Wells to then set up CNL Perez to be your setup guy.
Right.
Because we don't have that option between Perez and Bautista right now.
Right. Look, I think like there's one easy fix to our crowding of the roster, and that is to send Ben Boom back down. Fine. That is what needs to happen when Bradish gets healthy again.
So here's the question, because we haven't touched on this yet. Today the Orioles announced that James McCann was done his stint on the IL. They brought him up, and I assumed, I'm sure you assumed, I'm sure anyone out there with a logically thinking brain assumed, oh, okay, the backup catcher has returned to the major league roster. That means our current backup catcher
Needs
will
to go
be
away.
optioned, will be gone. But no, what do? They take Kyle Stowers, who has been jerked around more than anyone on this roster, it seems,
Yeah.
and they send him to AAA after letting him start what, one game?
Yeah, one game.
I didn't understand it. I don't know why. I don't know what Brandon Hyde has against Kyle Stowers. I don't know what Mike Elias has against Kyle Stowers. But we now are sitting here with 3 catchers on our roster, and we just sent away one of our outfielders.
So in Brendan Hyde's pregame interview today, he said that the reason that Stowers got sent back down is because he wasn't getting everyday at bats at the major league level. Fine, I understand, but he also touched on how we're facing a lot of lefties coming up. Again, yeah, I get it, but what is Anthony Bemboom going to do for you that Kyle Stowers isn't? One, if you keep Stowers, gives you more versatility in your bench instead of having 3 catchers who can't play anywhere else. What are we doing?
Ben Boone, the thing, like you said, Ben Boone drives me crazy because what else is he going to do other than warm up a really nice part on the bench? I mean, granted, like you
Yeah.
weren't playing Stowers very often, but look, if God forbid, Cedric Mullins goes down,
Right.
okay, well, what are you going to do with Anthony Ben Boone? Guess what? He's still going to be sitting on the bench because he can't play outfield. Like, why? Like, why? This doesn't make any sense to me. Um, and like even in the meantime, and now, okay, let me collect my thoughts here. The one thing, the one thing that someone said that made a little tiny half a fraction of sense to me about why Ben Boom was not the one sent off this team is because he's out of options. So if he's gone, someone could pick him up off waivers. I don't know if that's true. I haven't fact checked that. That being said, what are we losing if Anthony Ben Boom does get picked off by waivers by some other team? And are there any teams that would be interested enough to pick him up off waivers?
Right. I mean, like I know,
I
like
don't think there's a big Anthony Ben Boom market out there.
Oh well, yeah, because I mean, he'd have to play on their major league team. I don't. Maybe the A's, one of those bottom teams. I don't know. I could see Ben Boom clearing, but what? I guess McCann's health probably still was kind of up in the air.
I guess. But Anthony
Maybe,
Ben, like even before that, Anthony Ben Boom played what, one game?
yeah.
Adley's been catching almost every single game.
This is the only logical way that could make sense. Is that McCann's health was still up in the air, and they were worried that he might go right back onto the IL. And
I guess that's a thought. There is a part of me that wonders too, and I haven't looked into this. How many free agent catchers are out there, or guys that you're willing to possibly trade for like cash considerations or something like that? Like, could we not get another Anthony Ben Boom tier catcher relatively easily?
oh yeah,
So like what
oh
like
yeah.
what's the fear? What is the fear of losing Anthony Ben Boom? That theory of like, well, he's out of options just doesn't really stick with me, because it's like, okay.
We just need somebody to catch 1 game a week, 2 games a week. Like Ben Boom's not even that good of a defensive catcher either. Like watching him catch the last couple days, like when Adley was DHing, it's just like I don't know.
Then doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Doesn't sit well.
Does it
No.
does it make sense to drop him and put Bradish in? I don't know. Our arms still feel very crowded with
Yeah,
that.
here's a question that I will pose. Bradish comes in, you can assume Ben Boom's out. Right?
Okay.
Let's
Sure.
just, for the sake of the exercise, Dylan Tate and Michael Givens come back. You're looking at 2 new spots. Because Tate's kind of knocking on the door here. What they say, mid-May, late May. So we got a month.
I think mid-May, yeah.
Got a month. Out of the Orioles starters, or no, Michael Givens is going to come back before him, probably.
I haven't seen the timeline on him.
I don't know it either. I'd assume that one of the 2 of them is coming back by May 1st. Who out of the bullpen would you send to triple or DFA when either Michael Givens or Dylan Tate comes back? I feel like the answer is pretty cut and dry.
My gut feeling is Gillespie.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of got roughed up today, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. And he's not he's probably on our bullpen, probably our worst pitcher.
Either him or both.
And he lasted a month in the major leagues last year. He'll last a month this year, and then send him on his way.
I think that the Austin Voth reliever era in Baltimore is getting to its end point here. He's just not a good reliever.
Yeah. I wonder with him if they won't try to. We talked about it a little bit last week. If they're not going to try and pawn him off on someone for like cash considerations, because they picked him up off waivers last year, I think they'd like to turn him into a little bit of a profit.
Yeah.
But it seems to me, which is weird because his career is a relief pitcher. It seems to me the last 2 seasons he was not. He's not doing well in relief, and he did a lot better as a starter. But he's not good enough to be a starter in this rotation. So either drop him or trade him for whatever you can possibly get for him.
It'd be hard to spin his stats saying like, hey, look, this guy's a really good starter, but his reliever stats really don't show it. But you guys want to give us some cash for him?
You'd have to look at a team again that's like kind of where the Orioles were last year when they picked him up. You have a starter go down, and you just need someone to fill in a void. Because that's how he got picked up by the Orioles. So, but I don't know. Because the thing is, I look at this team too, and when I'm looking at this, I also look at, well, who am I expecting to leave when Tate and Givens come back? I think Gillespie's gone. I think Bauman may be gone.
Bauman's looks really good this year, though, man.
He has looked a lot better this year, so maybe not him. Keegan Aiken, maybe.
You know how I feel about Keegan Aiken.
Yeah, he had a really good first half of last year, and then he's fallen off, in my opinion. I mean, there's a lot of guys that you could start throwing out there. And again, the bullpen just gets better with Tyler's Wells in it. Oh, and by the way, John Means just started throwing breaking balls in his bullpen sessions yesterday, which means he's knocking on the door. He's still not going to be in till this summer, but he's right on track, if not a little bit ahead of pace, to come back from Tommy John. So what do you do then? You get you get him back, and then you got to send someone else to either the bullpen or to AAA. What do you do then?
Be a cluster.
I mean, don't get me wrong; it's a good problem to have so many people in the rotation that you go, hey, we don't know who to cut because everyone's so good. It's a good problem to have, but it's mind-boggling to think about of like, okay, who stays, who goes. I almost wonder, could we be looking at some point here at a 6-man rotation? It's not a bad thought because you have guys like Grayson Rodriguez is going to be on an innings limit. Bradish is still young. He's probably on some sort of innings limit. John Means is going to be coming back from Tommy John. He's going to be on an innings limit, though halfway through the season. He's not likely to hit that, but maybe you want to rest him a little bit more to acclimate him more. Could we be looking at a 6-man rotation? I think it's possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I just think it's possible.
I tell you, I'm glad that we're not Mike Elias because that makes my head hurt.
Well, if we were Mike Elias, I can tell you that Anthony Ben Boom would not be on this team right now.
Well, now you make a good point there.
So all in all, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Before we get to what we look forward to, we did get a question. This is new to us in the live streaming world. Live questions. Brady asked, when do we hit the panic button with Anthony Santander?
I didn't realize he's been commenting the whole time. Time for my favorite podcast. Yes, sir. Okay. When do we hit the panic button on Santander? I don't know. I think it's just a slow start, man. I feel like
I don't think he does well in the cold.
No, I think once he gets going again, because if you look at last year, he started to get hot right around when it got warm too. It's like the summer. He had a really good summer and he had a really good last half. So I would say we get through May and he's still kind of like under the 220-ish average line and like sub 10 homers. I think that's when we kind of get a little worried about it.
It's cold in Baltimore now, and there were a lot of balls that he hit. There was one I'm thinking of specifically on Saturday where he hit it, and I thought right off the bat, I was like, oh, that ball's gone. That's out of here. And it ended up, short of the track in center field. You get to summer in Baltimore when it's, going to be 85, 90 degrees out. That ball is probably going out of the ballpark.
Yeah. I think just like something that we didn't do well last week was recognize that it's only been 9 games, and last week it was the first 3. So I think we kind of
We kind of
have
hit the
to.
panic button a little early, I think.
Yeah, we hit the panic button on the pitching within 3 games. So I don't know. I would give him a few more at bats, give him a few more series.
To be fair, we also hit the panic button on the field play, which I feel like was warranted
Yeah,
because there was a lot
that
of really
one.
bad
Yeah,
field play.
yeah. I think another guy that when you think about panic button, I think like you think Gunnar Henderson, right?
I am not worried about Gunnar Henderson. He is
No, but
walking so
yeah,
much, which I mean, that was the big struggle he had last year in the bigs was he struck out a lot. You give Gunnar Henderson where he's seeing the ball really well, it's just a matter of time before his OPS is through the roof because his on base percentage right now is already really good. That's the thing they were saying like going into the home series was um he had very few hits. His batting average was super low, but his on base percentage was still like 450 or something like that because he was just drawing tons of walks. So I'm not throwing the panic button on him at all.
no,
Santander, I see the issue where it's like, okay, Santander doesn't walk. Um, he hits home runs, and right
yeah.
now he's not hitting home runs.
God, I love the live questions. I didn't even see him. I have my thing on full screen. I didn't even see him.
Oh yeah, man, you got to look at the comments.
Wait, look at that. We can show him in the broadcast.
Oh,
How about
what?
it?
How did you do that? Did you just
Just
click on
clicked
it?
on
Oh,
it.
I
Yeah.
see. I see. Show and hide. Oh, that's wild.
Love it.
You are getting a live look right now, and if you're listening on a pod on like one of the podcasts, I feel so bad for you that you can't see us discover this technology right now. You just have to listen to us and imagine that you just saw this question pop up on the screen, and me and Jack get really really excited. Oh,
Love
that
it.
is wild. That is wild. I like seeing the likes and heart reacts up here
Yeah.
in the corner. I can see who all's liking us and everything. That's a fun little feature. Well, what do we got
All
to
right.
look forward to this week, Jack?
Got a big 4-game set coming up against Oakland. Need to win 3 out of 4 against them. I mean, it's the bottom line.
Yeah. That's gonna be a fun series, I think. It's the first look at the bane of my existence, which is the 6:30 start time.
Mm,
But
mm,
we'll see how that works out. What I am really excited for is Tuesday, April 11th, is going to be Grayson Rodriguez's debut in Camden Yards, and they already have the next shirt in the series for the Welcome to the Show. It's got a gas can on it with a K. It says "Gas him
yeah,
up."
that's money.
It says "Welcome to the Show." So I already have the Adley Rutschman one from last year, and I already have the Gunnar Henderson one. So now I'm gonna add the Grayson Rodriguez one. Uh, I'm super pumped to get that free shirt. It's not the coolest looking shirt in the world, but I don't care. It's a free shirt. It's a Grayson Rodriguez free shirt, and it's the same call up shirt that I've gotten for two of the other top prospects for the Orioles. So I'm super excited for that. I was telling you before this, I just happened to have that as part of my Birdland membership. And a few weeks ago, the Orioles sent out an email. If you guys are Birdland members, anytime you see an email from the Orioles, open the email. You never know what it's going to be. It should be something that you should act on right away sometimes. So they
Yeah.
sent an email out. They were doing a flash sale for the Oakland A series. You can get lower level tickets for like $10. So I said, okay, I'm just going to move the tickets I already had for that night to another game and take the $10 tickets at the lower level because I'm a sucker for a good deal. And then it happened to be that's going to be Grayson's debut in Camden Yards, and I am so pumped.
Yeah, man. I envy you highly.
And then after that, we go to the Chicago White Sox, who are Very similar to us, 4-6 to start out. How you feeling about that series?
It's gonna be, dude. It's gonna be a good series. I think especially away. It's kind of our first big like half contender opponent. I hope that we see Dylan Cease pitch. I think that would be a really good kind of radar for where we're at as a lineup. We haven't seen, actually we saw DeGrom, never mind. But if we can do what we did against DeGrom to Dylan Cease, then I think that the future for like games that come up against bigger, high powered opponents, it'll show we can hang with really anybody. Also, the White Sox can hit the crap out of the ball. They showed that against the Astros. They didn't have a great week last week. But then you have a note in here that says, thank God for less games against the AL East.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is there when we look at the White Sox series, there was a lot of that the Orioles could have done to win that series. Thank
Red
you, Ryan
Sox?
McKenna. Red Sox, yes, Red Sox.
Okay.
Um, thank you, Ryan McKenna, for not letting us win that series. The games against the Yankees, just the last two games really felt like, yeah, we're not gonna win. Like you felt like by like the third inning, you're like, yeah, we're not winning this. And it's just killer. And you know, we already talked about it at the start of the show with the Rays now having won 9 in a row. They're looking unstoppable. They're healthy. It's always going to be a battle with the Yankees, who will probably be in contention for the division. And if they don't win the division, they'll definitely get a wild card spot. The Red Sox, who are supposed to be awful, it's always a battle with them. We haven't even played the Blue Jays yet, and the Blue Jays are always going to be a battle. They'll probably be in contention for the wild card. So like having 24 less games against the AL East is going to be absolutely crucial for the Orioles. It's going to be crucial for the entire division, honestly, because everyone's beating the crap out of each other. But with suddenly you have less games against your division, I could realistically, if the Orioles, you know, start to pick it up here, I could realistically see all three wild card teams coming out of the AL East.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. It's just the way that things are going to shake out this year, especially with the expanded playoffs. And I think that we should wrap with a couple more of these questions, dude. These questions are fun.
Oh, let's go. Brady's on a roll. Let's show it.
There we
Do
go.
you think the O's can actually win a series against the Tigers this year? If they don't, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, it's like the Rangers last year. The Orioles were like that with the Rangers last year. The Orioles swept both series against the Rangers last year, and we took the first two of this series. So we were the thorn in the side of the Rangers, but the Tigers were bad, and we couldn't beat them.
Dude, the Tigers are still bad, which makes me fear that we're not going to be able to beat them. However, maybe, just maybe, we will beat the curse this year. I mean, like on paper, we are so much better than the Tigers, and that should be a very, if we're winning series against the Rangers, right, and we're hanging with the Yankees, hanging with the Red Sox, I think like if we go to Chicago, win that series, we got a series coming up against Detroit. We have to win against Detroit. There's no excuse anymore.
Well, it's one of those too. I mean, remember the Tigers, as far as timelines of rebuilding, they were supposed to be a year or two ahead of us.
They bought.
They bought. They were all in, and
Javi
then they
Baez.
had to fire their GM. Their number one prospect that they brought up last year, they had to send him back down to work on things more because he wasn't adjusting.
I feel bad for Torkelson because, I mean, that whole organization, top to bottom, was just so awful not developing their hitters. Like, you look at Torkelson, most touted guy coming out of Arizona State. There's no reason that guy shouldn't be on the same track as an Adley or a Riley Green, even though he's in the same thing, or Michael Harris. Like, they're at the same point in their careers. That has to be a developmental thing within the organization.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, imagine if we had gotten to last year with the Orioles, right? Adley came up. didn't perform, and then we sent him back down or something like that. Imagine we just spent, what is it, 4 years tanking to build up our farm system, and it was like, okay, here it comes. Like we're starting the climb. We're not lifting off yet, but we're starting the climb. And then all of a sudden they go, yeah, this is going so badly, we're firing Mike Elias.
Yeah.
If I'm a Tigers fan, I'm like, well, why even watch now? Because now what do we do?
Yeah.
So can we beat the Tigers? I hope so.
We should.
But I put nothing past this team.
Realistically, out of the 15 teams in the AL, where do the O's rank in that? Right now, I would say like 9.
Yeah, I'd say 8 or 9.
Top 6.
Maybe 7. I'd give them, actually, if I'm going optimistically, I'd say 7. Right in the middle of the pack.
Yeah,
they got a ways to go before
a ceiling of like a 5 or a 6.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then let's wrap on this one. This will be the last one. Way too early World Series predictions.
Oh, that's a good question.
I'll let you go first.
I haven't looked at everybody's records.
So I mean, like you got like the Rays, right? And then the Yankees are atop the AL East, and the Minnesota Twins. The LA Angels. How could a team with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani not win the World Series?
They'll still find a way to tank. Don't worry about it.
No, I know, but being like a realistic one, I think that we could see. I mean, looking at it way too early, like if we just go off of what we've been seeing, I really like the Rays, man. Try and score more than 3 runs against the Rays right now. You're not doing it. So I think the Rays and big game Randy could make it back there.
Did you see, by the way, the Rays today, as they were going for their 9th win in a row, had like an attendance of like 3,000 people?
It's insane, dude. They don't sell playoff games.
I feel so bad for that team, that no matter how good they play,
so exciting.
Because like the Orioles, at least like if you build it, they will come, right?
Right.
When the Orioles are good, you're gonna have a crowd. The Rays, when they're good, when they're going to the World Series, they're still blocking off like the third section of the stadium because they can't fill the stadium. I feel so bad for them.
I'll go Rays Padres.
Rays Padres, that's a pretty good one. I'm gonna go Rays Braves.
Braves, yeah, they look good too.
I think Braves are looking good. I think they're going to benefit a lot early on from this beat up Phillies team, which is really and the Mets, who are beat up and not playing well. I think they're going to really benefit from a weekend NL East because, of course, the Nats and the Marlins aren't going to really do much. So I think they're going to benefit a lot from that. They could have a really good season. Who wins that? I don't know. I'd probably pick the Braves in that situation, and that's nothing against the Rays, except they tend to choke in World Series.
Yeah, Padres in 6.
Well,
Braves Padres are playing right now.
Oh, that's probably a pretty good game.
No, it's not. It's 10-1 Padres.
Forget my predictions. I'm picking the Padres now. Oh gosh.
All right. Well, thank you for everybody watching live, man. So we got up to about 9 live viewers. That is money.
And that's just on Facebook, I think. Either Facebook
no, it's got
or YouTube
up there too.
Oh, does it? No idea how many people are watching live on Twitter. I don't think we can see that, but I noticed we usually have about 20 people on Twitter every week.
Thank you for tuning in, regardless of where you are. And if you're listening to this after April 9th at 9:04 p.m., we appreciate you big time. Make sure you leave a review on wherever you listen to your podcast. And make sure you get your shirts, people. Code UPODSTREET for 10% off your order at Birdland Sports.
Make sure you include that birdlandsports.com/ UPod Street when you order your shirt. That's what gets us a little bit of your order to help out the podcast. This isn't free for us; it's free for you. But help us out a little bit if you can using that birdlandsports.com/UPod Street.
Yeah, guilty.
All right. Well, we've got another great week ahead of Orioles baseball. Jack, what do we say to the people?
Please ask me why I love Shepard and Ketel Marte is a mid-second baseman in MLB The Show. Thank you and good night.
Let's go O's. You've been listening to UPod Street, an Orioles podcast by fans for fans. UPod Street is an official Birdland Sports affiliate. Directly support the pod by purchasing UPod Street or other Orioles merchandise using the link birdlandsports.com/UPod Street. Get 10% off your order when you use the code UPod Street. Follow us on Twitter @UPod Street and @JackBain20. UPod Street is also on Facebook and YouTube, and you can listen to the show on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. On whatever platform you listen, please subscribe, rate the pod, and leave a review. If you leave a review, we may even read it on the show. We'll see you next week, and of course, let's go O's.